Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And you know me, when there's something buzzy happening in the world of health and wellness, I just gotta dig in.
Always got to stay on top of things. Right.
Exactly. And today's topic is, well, it's something that's been making headlines and sparking a lot of debate online.
Yeah, the FDA's new definition of healthy.
You got it. It only took them, what, like 30 years to finally revamp this thing?
A little over that, actually. But hey, better late than never.
I guess so. But it definitely feels like they've stirred up a hornet's nest with this one.
Oh, absolutely. There are some strong opinions out there.
And to help us unpack all of this, we're turning to a YouTube video from High Intensity Health. Have you seen this one?
I have.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the host does not hold back.
Not one bit,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it all the more entertaining. To be honest, I'm not sure I agree with everything they say, but it's definitely got me thinking.
That's what we're here for.
Right.
To explore different perspectives and get those wheels turning. Exactly. So before we jump into the drama, can you give us the SparkNotes version of what's actually changed? Like, what's different about this new definition of healthy?
Well, the biggest shift is the emphasis on nutrient density. So it's not just about what a food doesn't have, like fat or sugar, but about what it does offer.
Okay, so more focus on the good stuff.
Exactly. Things like vitamins, minerals, fiber, protein. The FDA is really trying to promote a more holistic view of nutrition.
Makes sense. And I'm guessing that means some foods that were previously excluded from the healthy club are now getting their moment in the sun.
You got it. Think salmon nuts, seeds, all those nutrient powerhouses that were kind of left out in the cold before.
That's actually pretty wild when you think about it. Under the old guidelines, those foods wouldn't even qualify as healthy.
It really shows how much our understanding of nutrition has evolved over the past few decades.
Totally. I remember the old food pyramid, where fats were basically public enemy number one.
It's fascinating how the science has shifted and how those shifts are now reflected in official guidelines.
For sure. But let's get to the juicy stuff. I know the video host had a lot to say about the new protein recommendations, specifically the emphasis on plant-based sources.
Right. There's definitely been some pushback on that front.
I can imagine. It's like we're so conditioned to think of meat as the ultimate protein powerhouse.
It's a deeply ingrained idea. But the FDA is really advocating for beans, peas, lentils, as primary protein sources.
Interesting. I'm curious to hear more about their rationale for this plant-powered approach.
Well, I think it comes down to a couple of key factors. First, these plant-based options are not only packed with protein, but they also offer a ton of fiber, which is something that's often lacking in the standard American diet.
True fiber is definitely the unsung hero of the nutrition world.
Right. And then there's the sustainability aspect. Plant-based proteins generally have a lower environmental impact than animal-based proteins.
Right. So it's like they're encouraging a shift in mindset, not just a change in what's on our plate.
Exactly. It's about thinking about the bigger picture, the health of our bodies, and the health of the planet.
I can dig it, but I have a feeling not everyone is on board with this shift, especially when it comes to the fat debate. I mean, the video host went on a hilarious rant about seed oils and how the FDA is still clinging to outdated ideas about saturated fat.
Yeah, that's where the science gets particularly complex, and opinions are often divided.
It's like a never-ending tug of war.
Right. The FDA is encouraging the use of healthy oils, like canola, olive, soybean, while cautioning against saturated fats found in butter and coconut oil.
So basically sticking with the traditional advice on fats.
To a certain extent. But it's important to acknowledge that there's a growing body of research that challenges this view and suggests that certain saturated fats may not be as harmful as once believed.
Oh, wow. So we're still in the midst of a scientific debate about fats.
We are. And I don't think that debate is going away anytime soon.
So much to unpack here. I feel like we could do an entire deep dive just on the fat controversy.
We probably could. But for now, I think the key takeaway for our listener is that nutritional science is constantly evolving.
It's always changing.
Right, exactly. So while the FDA's recommendations are based on the best available evidence, it's wise to stay informed about emerging research and consider various perspectives.
Love that approach. Informed, but also open-minded.
Exactly.
Okay. But let's talk about how these guidelines actually play out in the real world. I mean, the video host made a powerful point about how government subsidies can actually make it harder to eat healthy, especially for low-income communities.
Yeah, they called it a recipe for disaster.
And it's not hard to see why. I mean, when you think about it, subsidies for certain crops like corn and soybeans can lead to an overabundance of processed foods and sugary drinks.
And those products often become the most affordable options, particularly in areas where access to fresh produce is limited.
Right. It creates this vicious cycle where unhealthy food is cheap and readily available, and healthy food is either too expensive or too hard to find.
It's a systemic issue, and it disproportionately affects those who are already facing economic challenges.
Absolutely. And the video showed some pretty shocking examples of how SN8 benefits can be used to buy junk food online.
It really drives home the point that unhealthy eating isn't always a matter of personal choice. There are these complex economic and social forces at play.
For sure. And it makes me wonder how we can create a system that actually supports healthy eating for everyone, regardless of income or zip code.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question,
Yeah.
and one that we're still grappling with as a society.
Well said. All right. We've covered a lot of ground here. From the nitty-gritty of the FDA's guidelines to the complexities of the fat debate and the systemic issues that contribute to unhealthy eating habits.
It's been quite a journey.
But we're not done yet. When we come back for part 2, we'll break down the FDA's specific recommendations and explore how you can apply this knowledge to make informed choices about your own health and well-being. So stay tuned.
See you then.
Okay, we're back. And ready to dive deeper into the FDA's healthy playbook. I mean, we've talked about the big picture changes, but what does this actually look like in practice?
Well, it all boils down to two main principles: nutrient density, which we've already touched on, and limits on certain nutrients that are often overconsumed in the modern diet.
Got it. So it's about packing in the good stuff and keeping the not so good stuff in check.
Precisely.
Okay, so nutrient density is all about those vitamins, minerals, fiber, protein. What about the limits? What are the FDA's no-no ingredients?
They've set specific limits on saturated fat, added sugars, and sodium, all of which have been linked to various health concerns when consumed in excess.
This is where I feel like things get a little tricky because haven't there been studies challenging the whole saturated fat thing?
You're right. There's a growing body of research that suggests certain saturated fats may not be as harmful as once believed.
I knew it. The video host was going off about that. Remember, they were like, the FDA is stuck in the dark ages.
I do recall that rant, and it's a valid point to consider. But it's also important to remember that the FDA's guidelines are based on a vast amount of research, and they're constantly reviewing and updating their recommendations as new evidence emerges.
Okay, so saturated fat is still on the watch list, but what about added sugars? Those are a sneaky culprit in so many processed foods.
Absolutely. And they're a major contributor to the obesity epidemic and other health problems.
It's crazy how much sugar is hidden in everyday foods.
It really is. That's why it's so crucial to read labels carefully and be aware of the various names for added sugars.
It's like a game of hide and seek with sugar.
It really is. You've got to be a label detective. And look beyond the obvious sugar. You'll find it disguised as corn syrup, dextrose, fructose, even honey or maple syrup when it's added to processed foods.
So it's not just about avoiding the sugar bowl. It's about being savvy about all the different forms that sugar can take.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. So saturated fat, added sugars. What about sodium? Is the FDA cracking down on the salt shaker?
Well, they do recommend keeping sodium intake below 2,300 milligrams per day, which is in line with general dietary guidelines.
Well, let's be honest. Most of us are probably getting way more sodium than that, especially if we eat a lot of processed or restaurant food.
You're not wrong. Sodium is often lurking in unexpected places, so it's definitely something to be mindful of.
Okay, so to recap, the FDA's new healthy definition is all about nutrient-rich foods, while keeping tabs on saturated fat, added sugars, and sodium.
Exactly. So the more holistic approach to healthy eating.
But as we've seen from the video, there's plenty of room for debate and differing opinions on some of these guidelines.
That's the beauty of nutrition science. It's constantly evolving, and there's always more to learn.
Totally. Speaking of learning, remember how the video took this unexpected turn? The host who had been passionately critiquing the FDA suddenly pivots to promoting creatine and electrolyte supplements.
Oh, yeah. That was a bit jarring.
I was like, wait, what just happened? But it also highlights the fact that we need to be discerning consumers of information, especially in the health and wellness space.
Absolutely. Not everything you see or hear is necessarily backed by solid science.
For sure. So for our listeners who might be wondering, can you give us the lowdown on creatine and electrolytes? Like, what are they, and why are people taking them?
Well, creatine is a naturally occurring compound that plays a role in muscle function, particularly during high-intensity exercise.
So it's like a fuel for your muscles.
In a way, it helps your muscles produce energy more efficiently, which can enhance performance and promote muscle growth.
Got it. And what about electrolytes?
Electrolytes are minerals, like sodium, potassium, magnesium, that are essential for various bodily functions.
So they're not just for athletes chugging Gatorade after a workout.
Right. Everyone needs electrolytes. They help regulate fluid balance, muscle contractions, nerve signaling, all sorts of important stuff.
Interesting. So is there any benefit to combining creatine and electrolytes?
Some proponents suggest that pairing them can enhance hydration and improve athletic performance.
Makes sense, like a 1-2 punch for your workout.
But it's important to note that supplementation should always be done thoughtfully and in consultation with a healthcare professional.
Good point, especially if you have any underlying health conditions.
Right. You don't want to just start taking random supplements without knowing how they might affect your body.
Okay, so we've gone from the FDA's healthy guidelines to creatine and electrolytes. Quite a journey.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have, but we're not done yet. When we come back for the final part of this deep dive, we'll shift gears and explore what all of this means for you, the listener. How can you take this information and apply it to your own life? So stay tuned. Okay. We're back for the final stretch of our deep dive into the FDA's healthy revolution. We've talked about the guidelines, debated the controversies, even explored the world of creatine and electrolytes.
So they threw a lot.
We have. But now it's time to bring it all home. What does this information actually mean for you, the listener?
At the end of the day, the FDA's goal is to empower you to make informed choices when you're at the grocery store. You're navigating those aisles.
Yeah, it can feel like a battlefield sometimes.
Right. But by providing a clearer definition of healthy, the FDA is aiming to make it easier to identify foods that truly align with a nutritious diet.
But as we've discussed, it's not just about scanning labels for that healthy stamp of approval.
Right. Exactly. There's so much more to it than just looking for a label.
It's about understanding the nuances, the ongoing scientific debates, and even the potential biases that influence our food choices. Like, remember the video host's arguments about seed oils and government subsidies?
Oh, yeah. Those were definitely thought-provoking.
Right. Even if you don't completely agree with their perspective, it's important to consider those different viewpoints.
Absolutely. This deep dive has really shown us how complex our food system is. It's not as simple as good food versus bad food.
Not at all. There are so many factors at play.
Political, economic, social, all these things that shape our access to healthy options and even our understanding of what healthy truly means.
And that's what I found so fascinating about this whole conversation. It's not just about individual choices.
It's about the bigger picture.
Right. Yeah, it's about systemic change. The video host's point about food deserts and how SNP benefits can be used to buy junk food really stuck with me.
It's a powerful example of how our environment can influence our health.
Totally. It made me think about the responsibility of policymakers and corporations to create a food environment that truly supports health. For everyone.
Right. It's not just about personal responsibility.
Yeah.
It's about creating a system where healthy choices are the easy choices.
Couldn't agree more. So, listener, as you walk into the grocery store, armed with all this newfound knowledge...
Hopefully not feeling too overwhelmed.
Right. It's not about checking boxes on a healthy checklist.
It's about thinking critically.
Exactly. What are your values? What information resonates with you? And most importantly, what makes you feel your best?
And remember, stay curious. Don't just accept everything you hear or read at face value.
Question everything, right?
Right. Question assumptions, explore different perspectives, and most importantly, listen to your body.
It's the best guide you have.
Absolutely.
I love that. So we've reached the end of our deep dive, but we want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. Throughout this episode, we've focused mainly on the FDA's definition of healthy for packaged foods. You know, the stuff that comes with a label.
Makes sense. That's what the FDA regulates.
Right. But what about the world of fresh whole foods? The stuff that doesn't come with a nutrition facts panel?
The good stuff.
Right. How do you determine the healthfulness of those foods? What criteria do you use to make decisions about what you eat?
Those are great questions, and ones that I encourage you to explore further.
Yeah, it's all part of this ongoing journey of learning about nutrition and making choices that support your well-being.
And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. What works for one person might not work for another.
So true. It's all about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
Okay, well, on that note, we're going to wrap things up here. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the FDA's healthy makeover.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, keep those wheels turning, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep nourishing your body with the foods that make you feel your best. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of health and wellness.